Hi, Mike.
Hey,
How are you today?
good.
Good. Today we're going to talk about using context clues to learn vocabulary words in a story that you maybe aren't familiar with before you read a story. Every time you read a story, we come across words that aren't familiar to us. Do you know what using context clues means?
Yes.
What's it mean?
I think it means that you just you using clues from a book,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you get clues out of a book, and then you get the clues on like a piece of paper that you have, and you can just write it down what clues you have, and then you just probably write down the answers when you're done.
And how do the clues help you?
Clues help you with the questions.
Okay, well, we're not answering questions this time. We're just going to read the story. We're going to partner read it. You're going to read a paragraph. I'm going to read a paragraph. We each have our own um, copy of the story. The story is called Your Recycled House. And I chose this story because today is Earth Day. Do you know what Earth Day is all about?
But the earth, keeping the earth clean
Uh-huh.
today.
Good. What else?
I don't know.
That's it. How do you keep the earth clean?
By recycling and throwing your trash away.
Good. This is what recycling, this is the story is kind of about that. Um, so we're going to look for specific words in the story, and we're going to use context clues to help us figure out words that maybe we don't understand what they mean or what they mean in this story. And this board is going to help us by using these steps. Can you read step number 1?
Record.
Reread.
Reread and
Gather.
gather clues.
That means like collect clues, collect information. So if you come across a word that you don't know, you go back and what do?
You read it again.
You reread the sentence and see how the target word is used in the story. And that's what context clues means, how it's used. You look for clues. When you said look for clues, where would you look for clues?
In the book.
Where in the book?
Wherever the clue is in the book, like what page or.
Well, actually, in the very sentence, right? So the first word that we're going to look for is this word. And I want to make sure you can read all these words first. Do you know what this word is?
Environment.
Environment. Very good. That's a hard word. Do you know this word?
Complicated.
Almost. Complicated. Complicated. Do you know what complicated means?
Yeah, it's like something that's hard.
Something that's hard or difficult. Takes a lot of steps, maybe. What about environment? What does that mean?
Like about the earth, like you had to clean the earth, like this is my this is like if the earth was dirty, the environment is dirty. It's
Okay.
not like a place is dirty in the earth.
Do you know this word?
Silo.
Silo. Do you know what a silo is? Okay, we're going to see if we can figure it out as we read in the story using context clues. Do you know that word? It's a hyphenated word. That's called a hyphen.
Eco-friendly.
Eco-friendly. That's right. So sometimes, even though you can read a word, you might not understand exactly what it means. These steps here that I've written on the board are going to help us when we come across this word. Go back. First, we're going to reread and gather the clues. Then we're going to identify what part of speech it is. Do you know what that means? What's that mean?
Oh, I thought you said a speech. Oh.
The part of speech. It says identify the part of speech. Well, when we were practicing vocabulary earlier today, I can't remember the word. Very well. It's sometimes the word can be an adjective, sometimes the word can be a noun, sometimes it can be a noun, sometimes it can be a verb. Right? Like if I say I run down the street every day, what is run? What part of speech is it?
Well, like a speech. How about something like you like a speech, like a run speech, like something that you speaking like you was talking about that you ran.
Okay, well, ran is past tense. It happened in the past. If I say I run down the street, is that a noun? Is that a verb? Is that an adjective?
A verb.
It's a verb. It's an action word. Right. So if I say I run this classroom, is that also an action?
Yes, because you are like in the classroom talking.
Right. Right. It's an action word, a verb. So that's what part of speech means. Then we summarize. These are different ways that you can use context clues to figure out words that you don't know what they mean. When you summarize, you can go back in your mind and think about what the story has said already up to the point where the word is, and use that information to help you figure out what the word means. Using your background knowledge, what do you think that means?
No, I don't think I know what that means.
Well, you had some background knowledge about the word environment and about the word complicated. You've heard those words before, right? So you have some background knowledge with those words. You've experienced the word complicated before. Maybe not silo, maybe you don't have any background knowledge about the word silo, but I bet you'll be able to figure it out from the context clues in the story. And then check and see if your guess is right, what you think the word means, and then go back and define it in the story and see if it's right. And you'll know because it won't sound right if it's not right. And then if it's not right, you go back and you revise. What does revise mean?
Revise is like something that you did all over, like you revising your work.
Which means you're making it better. You're correcting it. So you might go back and say, oh, that guess wasn't right. I'm going to go back and try again, make it better, do it again, do it over until I get it right. All right, so let's begin by reading the story. You begin with the title and then the first paragraph, and we'll go back and forth from one paragraph to another. Nice and loudly, please.
Imagine you are building a new house, but you are not using any no material. A house like house like this would use material.
That's okay.
You are reusing and recycling material that already
exists.
This house would be really different from houses built with new construction material, but it would be just as comfortable. If you build your house like this, you are building a house that is friendly to the environment, or eco-friendly.
Oh, there's two of our words. Let's underline those words. Underline environment and underline eco-friendly. So if we go back and reread and gather clues from the beginning of the paragraph, what do you think environment means? It says if you build your house like this, you are building a house that is friendly to the environment or eco-friendly. What's the environment first?
The environment is like the world. Like the environment can be like the state, the country, or the city.
Okay, so are they talking about a state or a country or a city in this paragraph? Okay, so what's the environment?
In this paragraph, it means the environment is the house that was really old, and they had to destroy it.
Well, that's what it looks like in the picture. Let's keep reading. To reuse material is to find a new place and use for material no one uses anymore. These other places could be old houses being torn down, construction sites, and recycling centers like junkyards and scrap yards. It can be as simple as buying a used bathtub and putting it in the new house. Or it can be more complicated, like using the metal from old umbrellas to make lighting fixtures. Using your imagination, you can recycle a lot of different things for different uses. Did you see another word in there? Find the word complicated and underline it. Now let's use our context clues or the clues around that word. Let's go back and reread the sentence. Start right here.
It can be as simple as buying a used bathtub and putting it in a new house, or it can be more complicated, like using a metal for old umbrellas to use lighting and fixtures.
So in this sentence, what does complicated mean?
Complicated means like you can
think about what you read up until this point.
Like it can be hard, like from a mental old umbrella. It can be difficult for some. I don't even get it.
Okay, like using the metal from old umbrellas to make lighting fixtures. Oh. So if you're making a house, they're talking about your recycled house. They're talking about building a new house out of recycled materials. So there'd be nothing brand new in the house. But when it was built, it would look brand new. It's just that things are like, have you seen things that'll say this is made from recycled materials, but it's new, like your milk cartons at lunch, and lots of things are made out of recycled materials, but they don't look old in like this junkyard in the picture. They're new. They're made new again. That's what recycled means. So what is it comparing? Something in this paragraph is easy and something is complicated or harder, like you said.
It's kind of hard to recycle because sometimes when you have a recycling bin and sometimes you forget to recycle.
Okay, but right here, they're saying things that they're recycling, not something we would put in our bin. What are they recycling?
Recycling old umbrellas, and they're taking it out for light fixtures.
To make a light fixture. And that's harder and more complicated than what? They're comparing it to something else in the sentence before. Remember we said reread and gather your clues. That's what we're doing right now.
It's difficult for some, like, it's difficult things for, like, you can use things, it can be difficult uses.
Right. So what did they compare it to that was easy? It can be as simple as, reread it.
Well, it can be simple as buying a used bathtub and putting it in the new house.
That's simple, right? Just taking an old bathtub and putting it in a new house. But what is harder or more complicated or more difficult? You just said it before.
Or it can be more complicated, like using a mental.
An umbrella? To make what?
To make a lighting fixture.
Right. Good. Okay, your turn to read.
This is a tore down.
You're right here. Houses.
Houses are torn down every day. Find a house before it's torn down and get whatever wood you can for the frame of your new house. You can reuse
doors.
And for this old house, even if the house is already torn down, maybe there are many pieces, broken mirrors, you can glue them together to make a different yet pretty mirror.
Okay. If you live near a beach, you can find driftwood and use it for decoration or the railing of your porch. If you live near farms, you can reuse an old grain silo. Let's underline that word. That's one of our words, silo. A tall grain silo gives you a second floor. If you live near a shipping port, you may find old shipping containers that make great existing structure. They already come with 4 walls and a ceiling. You can then find wooden shipping crates to lay a new floor inside your shipping container. So let's go back and reread. What do you think a silo is?
I think a silo is a tall gray silo. It can give you a second floor.
What's a silo though? A grain silo.
Is tall?
It is tall. That's a good word. Have you ever driven down out in the country and you see something just standing out in the middle of a field that looks like this, and it has a big thing on the top, but it's kind of looks like a building, but people don't go in it. This is a grain. Have you ever seen anything like this? Like a big cylinder?
Like a water in it?
Sometimes they have water, but that's more like a water tank. But this is grain. Do you know what grain is? What would grain be used for on a farm?
Grass?
No. The meaning that it could be used for the same purpose as grass. Farmers use grain to feed their animals. They have to have a place to store that grain and keep it dry. So they're saying if there's an old farm, you could take this big silo and make it be the second story of your recycled house. So do you understand in this lesson, Mike, we were going back, rereading and using clues in the sentences around the word. The sentences before, the sentence that it's in, and the sentence after the word to help us understand the meaning of the word.
Yes.
Do you think that will help you next time you come across a word that you don't understand when you're reading? We need to practice this, and we'll practice these steps together until you get really good at it. What is this called? Using what?
Using context clues.
Using context clues. Very good. You did a good job today. We will come back to this and practice this some more with a different story, but using the same strategy to learn new vocabulary that's unfamiliar to us in a story. Next time, I'll let you pick the 4 words. Okay? All right. Thank you.